It happened 11 years ago when I was still 27 and she was about 30. We had been together for 8 years as live-in partners and had a 2-year-old son at the time. Now I'm 38, and my now wife, Carla, is 41. We've been together 19 years, married for 11 years. We have 2 more kids now, an 8-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl. English is not my first language, so please bear with me. Those first 8 years living together, we had our ups and downs, but still stuck and fought for each other. We really had no major problems in our relationship, and we were very close. Before I met Carla, I came from a 4-year relationship where my ex cheated on me, making it hard for me to trust fully again. Interestingly enough, Carla also had a boyfriend for a month when we met. They didn't really have the chance to be together since she left to work in my area right after she accepted him. She said there was really no connection between them. I found it intriguing because she accepted me while still not ending it with him. Eventually, she went back to that place and ended it with him because of me. It was hard for me to trust her, but eventually, I gave her all my trust, especially when we were already living together and had a child. I was confident that there was nothing to worry about regarding her loyalty since she was busy taking care of our child and was a very caring partner and mother. The problem started when she decided to work again. I stopped working to finish my last year in college. We decided to have my mother take care of our kid while she worked and I studied. My mother lived in another area, which was a little far, so when we took our son to her, it took us a day to travel to her place. We stayed for a month with my mother and then went back together. Everything was good between us. She worked while I studied. After 6 months, we decided to get our son back. This time I went alone, since Carla was already working. I stayed there for 3 weeks before coming back with my son. Carla was left alone in our apartment the whole time. During those times, we were already having some issues with her work because her workmates liked to go out and have a drink after work sometimes. This led to fights between me and her because she became entitled and very stubborn. I specifically asked her to avoid these kinds of activities, but she always said she was with friends and that her cousins were with them, so she was safe. Some of her cousins were also her workmates. While I was away, we constantly called and texted each other daily, so there was nothing unusual to think about. When my son and I got back, I noticed she was sweeter and a little more active in bed than usual. I thought she just missed me during the 3 weeks I was away, so I was happy to indulge her. A month later, I heard her phone's text message, and out of curiosity, I opened the message. I saw that it was from someone from her work, and she texted back saying, "Stop texting me here, my live-in partner might read it." That was when my knees shook, and my chest felt like there was a hole. It was hard to breathe. She hurriedly came and tried to get the phone, but I took it out of her reach. I asked who the hell this guy was that she was texting about me. She said he was nothing, and that she needed to go to her sister's house to have her hair done for the company Christmas party that evening. I told her she couldn't take her phone. When she left, I replied back to the number and received a reply as well. Surprisingly, it was the girlfriend of the guy Carla was texting. Apparently, the guy left his phone open as well. She told me that her partner and Carla might be having an affair at work. She had been suspecting him for a while now, and the text messages my wife sent that morning confirmed some of her suspicions. I asked if it was okay to meet her in person, so I could read the text messages from Carla myself, and she agreed. I took my son to Carla's sister's house. She was there having her hair done with her sister. I told Carla I was meeting someone and that she had some explaining to do when I got back. Finally, I met her AP's girlfriend, and she let me read all the text messages between Carla and her AP. His girlfriend also told me there was a particular night he did not come home, and somebody saw him with Carla drinking with friends and having a great time dancing. She said they looked like more than friends that night. They were always together and disappeared later. This was the hardest blow. I was not home during that time. It was within the 3 weeks I was away with my son at my mother's place. I was shocked and couldn't think straight. The AP's girlfriend said she confronted Carla at work, but Carla said nothing happened that night and that they were just friends. She asked him for a ride home because she couldn't find a cab. The girlfriend didn't believe it, of course, and neither did I. After that, I thanked her and apologized for what happened. I went home and confronted Carla that evening after she came back from the company Christmas party. It was an emotional time. I asked her to tell me the truth, but she just said nothing happened that night. I was so hurt and dismayed that she got involved in this mess. I was furious and already thinking of leaving at that time. But for some reason, we didn't separate, and my son was the main reason for it. Carla kept insisting that nothing happened with that guy, saying he just dropped her off at our gate and left right away. Deep down, I knew there was more to it, but I decided to accept it and move on. I forced myself to forget about it and tried to get it out of my mind completely. Around that time, I got sick and needed her by my side to take care of me. She stayed at her job for another year before finally resigning. She told me she never spoke to him again at work after that incident and completely ignored him, even before our confrontation. I believed her, especially since I had access to all her devices during that time, and she stopped going out to drink with her workmates after work. After 2 years, I heard that the guy died in a motorcycle accident. Carla didn't show any signs of being affected by the news, so finally, we had moved on. She got pregnant again with our second son. We got married that year, and everything seemed normal again. Sometimes when we fought, I would bring up the issue with her now-dead AP to get the upper hand, but she always got defensive and told me to let the man rest in peace. A year later, she got pregnant again with our youngest. Everything was running smoothly until almost a month ago when we had a fight, and I brought up the topic again. She got really mad and asked when I would stop asking about it. I felt there was something off that day, so I pushed it a little further. I told her that someone saw them arrive at our apartment that night and that the guy went inside with her, with his motorcycle parked outside until morning. I made this up. No one actually told me that. I just lied to see her reaction. When I told her this, I noticed she was taken aback and immediately asked who told me that. I lied again, saying he was a new friend in the neighborhood whom she didn't know. She got defensive again, admitting she let him inside but only to get a glass of water. Noticing the change in her story, I knew I had her cornered. I asked how long he stayed, and she said just a couple of minutes. I told her she was lying, repeating that my friend said the motorcycle was parked until morning. Now she was hyperventilating. I asked her again if they did it that night, and she denied it. She confessed they kissed and did some fondling while embracing because she was drunk, but that was it. I asked again if they had sex, and she told me he tried to, but she refused because she thought about me. She was about to cry, insisting that nothing really happened, but I wasn't satisfied. We went in circles and she kept denying it. Then I had an idea. I told her I believed her and accepted what she was saying was true. But I told her that if she was still lying, she was making me the most miserable man in the world. I told her that God knows my pain and how she lied to me. If she still had any respect and love for me, she would be hurt too by lying to my face in my most vulnerable state. I teared up a little, and she looked me straight in the eyes. I added that if there was still anything to confess, she should do it now. I promised to forgive her if she just laid it all out. Then she cried and finally confessed that they did have sex. She allowed him to do it to her on our sofa. I asked how long it lasted, and she told me only about 5 minutes. He didn't finish because she realized what was happening and came to her senses, then kicked him off and started crying. She told him to leave, and he did. She cried and took the longest shower of her life, feeling dirty and like she was about to lose her mind. She said he took advantage of her even though she initially refused by kissing and fondling her. He told her I was far away and no one would know if no one told, and that he wouldn't make her pregnant. He became more aggressive, and she felt fear about what he might do if she kept refusing. She didn't know why she gave in, but felt it was better to let him do it and get it over with. She shut him out of her mind and thought of me. She said she didn't feel anything when he was doing it because he was really small and uncircumcised. She felt numb due to the alcohol. That woke me up a little. She just told me she shut him out and thought about me the whole time, but when she realized he wasn't finishing, she kicked him off. Hearing all these details from her turned my world upside down, but I kept my promise to forgive her. We decided to stop the conversation and went to bed. I told her not to worry, but my head was spinning. She told me she feared her confession had changed the way I looked at her and that I would leave her. I reassured her, saying not to worry about anything right now. We would face this step by step, but my mind was about to explode with a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. She then proceeded to arouse me, and we had sex that night, but she did all the work. I didn't sleep well that night, my mind racing with doubts and fears. The following morning, I found it impossible to shake off the lingering effects of her revelation. Every time I looked at her, the image of her betrayal resurfaced, gnawing at my peace. After much contemplation, I decided to confront her again, hoping for more clarity and perhaps some solace. However, Carla stuck to her original story that he didn't finish, repeatedly saying sorry for what she did. She was willing to do anything for me to forgive her and not leave her. Her desperation was palpable, and she poured her heart out, telling me how she had been suffering all those years she lied to me about it. She had developed severe anxiety and depression because the guilt was eating her from the inside. She explained that the reason she lied for 11 years was because she didn't want to hurt me or see our family destroyed, fearing the impact it would have on our kids. She knew how deeply she had disrespected and destroyed my trust when she let him into our place and did what they did. She regretted every moment of it, insisting it was just a mistake, something she didn't plan. According to her, he had taken advantage of her weakness that night. She reassured me that she didn't love him, emphasizing that it was a pure mistake. Carla even confessed that she had wanted to tell her sister about it and considered reporting him because she felt scared and forced. However, she decided against it out of fear that I would find out. I listened to her intently, trying to process everything she said. Despite her tears and apologies, I found it increasingly hard to believe her completely. The trust that once formed the foundation of our relationship now felt irreparably cracked, leaving me in a state of constant doubt and suspicion. Days turned into weeks, and though Carla continued to express her remorse and sought ways to make amends, the weight of her confession hung heavily over our lives. I struggled to reconcile the woman I thought I knew with the one who had betrayed me. My mind oscillated between moments of sympathy for her anguish and bouts of anger for the deception. The road to forgiveness seemed long and uncertain, with every step forward shadowed by the haunting memories of that night. I asked her if it was impossible that she didn't have any feelings for him. She told me they were always together at work due to their tasks, and he showed her interest by always giving her food and asking if she had eaten. She confessed that maybe she had a little feeling for him, but not enough to say she loved him. She just liked the attention and company he provided. She did not love him at all. Almost a month since D-Day, we were doing okay for the kids and decided to keep things the same. But I told her I was still deciding what would happen and that I hadn't forgiven her yet. I had promised to forgive her if she confessed, but I couldn't. I told her I was only human and thought it would be easy, but I realized I couldn't forgive her yet. We had a sharing therapy every night before sleeping where we gave each other time to speak and share our thoughts without interruption. The other would just listen the whole time, and then we would sleep. The next night, the other would share their reflections on the thoughts from the previous night. The absolute rule was to be completely honest and share what we felt. This helped a lot because I asked her to give me a timeline of their interactions, and I just listened. She shared everything she could remember, the lunch dates, the conversations, the things he shared with her, and more. She even shared that he had asked her to leave me and be with him. I also shared my thoughts and feelings about the things she shared. This helped me because there were details that were uncovered that hadn't been shared on D-Day. I experienced deep hurt episodes where I felt very angry, and my mind was stuck on the details she shared that night. But I was also relieved that it brought light to what happened. I no longer imagined things and knew the details. I made sure she showed all about it when I experienced deep hurt episodes, and she was very supportive. I am now starting to accept her little by little. She agreed to all my conditions and followed everything I wanted to do to make things better between us. I thought her pride and ego would get in the way, but she endured it. She said the only thing she wouldn't be able to take is if I found another woman and developed feelings for her. Right now there are still ups and downs, but I no longer mind staying with her. I learned to look at her again, but the pain still comes when I think about what happened that night. Is this normal, even though the AP has been dead for a long time? I still feel jealous and hurt because of him. It still hurts when I watch videos and see positions similar to what my wife and her AP did that night. Is there still a chance for me to fully forgive her eventually? For all the things she did, does she still deserve a second chance? Thank you. I'll appreciate all your comments and thoughts. Despite the turmoil and confusion, we persisted in our nightly sharing sessions, which became a sanctuary for our emotions. Each night, I would brace myself for the waves of pain and anger, but also for the flickers of understanding and connection that began to emerge. It was during these sessions that I realized the depth of my own vulnerability, as well as the resilience of our bond. We discussed not only the affair, but also our hopes, dreams, and fears, laying bare the foundations of our relationship in a way we never had before. I found myself grappling with a profound sense of loss, not just of the trust and security I once felt, but of the version of my wife I thought I knew. She, too, mourned the person she had been before her mistake, and expressed genuine remorse for the hurt she caused. Her willingness to face my anger and sadness head-on, without defensiveness, began to chip away at the wall I had built around my heart. We started to rebuild our relationship, brick by brick, acknowledging that it would never be the same as before, but hoping it could be something new and stronger. She took proactive steps to rebuild trust, from sharing her phone and social media accounts to voluntarily checking in with me throughout the day. Her actions spoke volumes about her commitment to repairing our marriage, and slowly, I began to see glimpses of the love and partnership we once had. The journey was far from easy, and there were days when the weight of the betrayal seemed unbearable. Yet, amid the pain, there were also moments of unexpected joy and connection. We found solace in the small gestures, holding hands during a movie, cooking dinner together, laughing at a shared joke. These moments reminded me of why I fell in love with her in the first place and gave me hope that we could forge a new path forward. Forgiveness remained an elusive goal, one that I wasn't sure I would ever fully achieve. But I came to understand that forgiveness was not a destination but a process, a series of choices to let go of the anger and resentment little by little. I realized that healing would take time and that it was okay to have setbacks along the way. What mattered was our commitment to keep moving forward, together. In the end, I recognized that whether or not my wife deserved a second chance was not for anyone else to decide. It was a deeply personal choice, one that depended on our unique circumstances and the depth of our love for each other. What I did know was that she was making every effort to prove her sincerity and to rebuild the trust she had shattered. And for now, that was enough for me to keep trying. As I continued to navigate the complexities of our relationship, I held on to the hope that with time and patience, we could emerge from this crisis stronger and more united than ever before. Update 1. This is just an update regarding my previous post. Once again, I appreciate all your comments and suggestions. Be warned that this is also a long post, and English is my second language, so please bear with me. We are still working to reconcile, and I can say that time does really play a huge factor in dealing with all of this. I decided to stay and give it another chance, but with some changes in terms of our setup. We agreed that I have one pass to have another relationship, and I can use this pass anytime I want, especially if I see that she is not serious about this reconciliation. The only condition is that she needs to know about it. She is now open with all her devices and will let me know if someone is trying to hit on her at work or anywhere, in any way, so that we can fix it early. She will need to avoid any issues or involvement related to infidelity or even having me suspect her of something, at all costs, because she only has a second chance and no option for a third. She is always doing her best to help in our reconciliation, and I can say that she is very remorseful and regrets the mistake she made in our relationship. We continue to live as normally as possible with our kids, but I still have deep hurt episodes every time I remember. It's not as difficult to handle anymore compared to the days just after D-Day, but I still let her know how I feel and how she destroyed my trust. I made her do some things to help me and us cope with all of this, and she has no complaints except for one thing. We are the only ones who know about our problem. Nobody else from her side of the family or mine knows. I believe the root cause of her cheating on me is her selfishness, and I want to test her by making her do something that I believe she fears the most as a selfish person. Based on what I know of her, she values her reputation a lot with our friends and family. She doesn't want her reputation to be tainted or destroyed. To test her, I asked her to confess her infidelity to both our parents only and to ask them to keep all of this just between us. We will also ask for their advice regarding our reconciliation. I decided to let her confess to our parents only and not to other members of our families and friends because her reaction to this test was very genuine. The horror in her eyes, realizing that both our parents would know about her mistake, was very real. This is the most difficult thing I've asked of her, according to her. She is trying to ask me to give her another test, wanting us to keep this a secret and deal with it on our own. But I insisted that I needed to see her prove that this is still worth it by doing this. I told her that since I considered her selfishness the main enemy, I wanted us to beat it by making her do the ultimate sacrifice for me, her reputation to our parents. It should be our whole family and friends, but I decided to make her confess to both our parents to save her dignity with others since we are reconciling, and she is the mother of my children. I need her to prove to me one thing: if she can make this ultimate sacrifice, which she considers the ultimate sacrifice. She eventually agreed and just asked me to give her a little time to confess to her parents first. Then once done, she will also do the same with mine. I told her that once she did this, I would consider it a victory and that it would help a lot in our reconciliation. I told her that once she did this, I would lose my past to have another relationship and would just focus on her again. I would be her partner in everything, and we would move on from this mess she made. Only one thing I made clear to her: I can forgive her, but I will never forgive what she did because cheating in any form is unforgivable and unacceptable in any relationship. I just want to know, for those of you who decided to reconcile and did it successfully, what is the best test you think is necessary to prove that your marriage is still worth another chance? I considered a lot of things, like our kids, our life together for 19 years, though more than half of it she lied to me, and my feelings towards her. I believe that she is remorseful and regretted her mistake 11 years ago, and that she devoted her life to me and our family after that. All my kids are mine according to DNA results, and we are negative for any STDs. Though she lied for 11 years, I believe she only did it to keep our family whole. It sucks being cheated on and lied to, but as I mentioned at the start of this post, time really does play a big factor in how you deal with things. Life is a lot bigger than focusing only on the negative side of things. I believe that we will always encounter failures, and starting new is not always the best option for everyone. My heart goes out to all those betrayed spouses like me, especially male spouses. I know your pain, and I want you to know it's okay to cry. I hope we all find the peace we are looking for and will be able to give our love and trust again. In the meantime, we are continuing our reconciliation efforts. We attend couples therapy weekly, and she also goes to individual therapy sessions to address her underlying issues. We've established a new set of boundaries and agreements to rebuild trust and ensure transparency. These include regular check-ins, sharing daily schedules, and engaging in open and honest communication about our feelings and concerns. Additionally, we have both committed to spending more quality time together as a family and as a couple. We plan regular date nights and family outings to strengthen our bond and create positive memories. I have also started engaging in activities that bring me joy and help me manage stress, such as exercise, hobbies, and spending time with close friends who support me. I want to emphasize that this journey of reconciliation is not easy, and there are still moments of doubt and pain. However, I'm trying to focus on the progress we have made and the potential for a healthier, more honest relationship moving forward. I am cautiously optimistic, but I remain vigilant and mindful of the past. It's a delicate balance between guarding my heart and allowing myself to trust and love again. Lastly, I want to extend my gratitude to this community for the support, advice, and encouragement you have provided. It has been invaluable during this challenging time, and I hope to continue sharing updates on our progress. For anyone else going through similar struggles, remember that you are not alone, and seeking support from others can make a significant difference in your healing journey. Thank you again for being there, and I wish everyone the best in their own paths toward recovery and reconciliation. Update 2. More than 3 months after D-Day, she has already confessed to both our parents. They were both very disappointed in her, but it's obvious that they both want us to work it out and not separate because of the kids. I am satisfied because she did it even though it was very difficult for her. I am confident about my parents' side, since I was the one who opened up to them, giving them the summary of the affair, and my wife talked to them and apologized. They accepted her apology and advised her not to do it again and that she would need to earn my trust again. They also advised not letting the children know about the affair. However, on her parents' side, I have doubts if she really shared all the necessary details of the affair with them. I was not beside her when she confessed to her parents, but I was in another room. They all joined me afterward, and my wife told me that she had already confessed to them. I was waiting for their reaction, but they chose not to talk about it. I understand that they might feel uncomfortable discussing it because it involves their daughter, but it would have been better if they did. Now I have doubts about whether she really told her parents everything, including the part about sleeping with the AP. She told me she did, and that they were shocked, and asked her why she had an affair when everything was going well between us at the time. She said she answered that she didn't know why she did it. She told me they advised her the same thing my parents did, and that we should resolve this problem for the kids. I thought things would get better after this, but I'm still unsatisfied. Though this added a huge plus toward our reconciliation, I still feel hurt and betrayed when I look at her, especially if there are triggers. I still have my pass, and will use it without her knowing if needed. I also applied the true remorse test, and out of 6 conditions, she already passed 3. Patience, owning her bad decision by confessing to our parents, and financial support responsibility. She is still working on, I am yet to decide if I am convinced, her full honesty, her initiating and actively doing her part toward reconciliation, and her overall attitude toward me and the children. If she convinces me on the remaining conditions while maintaining the first 3, then I can say she is truly remorseful. She has made some additional confessions, like small details she held back during her initial disclosures about that night. The most significant change was when she confessed that the AP might have unloaded a little inside her, but was unable to unload it all because she noticed and anticipated it, kicking him off as quickly as she could. She was very mad because he really did want to finish inside her, despite their agreement for him not to. She recalled she was on birth control pills at that time. She explained that she has nothing more to hide and is bringing it all out in the open. She understands that whether he finished all inside or just a little, it doesn't matter to me anymore, because it hurts just the same. She is really sorry and regrets her decision that night. She really wants to be fully honest with me and will try to remember other things she might have forgotten and disclose them to me. She really wants to pass the full disclosure, full honesty condition of the true remorse test. Right now, I am still not okay. There are so many triggers and it sucks. I have no direction and don't know if our reconciliation efforts will work. I look at our kids and think about how they would handle it if we separated and just co-parented them. It breaks me to think about my children, especially my daughter, finding out. It would surely break their hearts, and they would cry because we would already be a broken family. The strain of dealing with this situation is immense. Every day feels like a struggle to maintain some semblance of normalcy for the kids, while grappling with my own feelings of betrayal and mistrust. My wife is making an effort, but I can't help but wonder if it's enough, or if she's truly committed to making things right. Her additional confessions, though painful to hear, give me a sliver of hope that she might be genuinely remorseful and willing to do whatever it takes to rebuild our relationship. Despite this hope, I remain deeply conflicted. The constant reminders of her infidelity and the fear of future betrayals loom large in my mind. The emotional toll is exhausting, and I sometimes feel like I'm barely holding it together. My friends and family offer support, but ultimately, the decision about our future rests with me. I want to believe that we can overcome this, but the road ahead seems long and uncertain. The kids are my anchor, the reason I haven't given up completely. Their innocence and happiness are my top priorities, and I dread the thought of how a separation would affect them. I see their smiles and laughter, and it breaks my heart to think about shattering their world. They deserve a stable and loving home, and I desperately want to provide that for them. But can I do that with a partner who has betrayed my trust so profoundly? Each day brings new challenges and decisions. I take it one step at a time, hoping that clarity will come with time. Whether we stay together or go our separate ways, I need to find a path that ensures the well-being of our children and my own peace of mind. It's a delicate balance, and I pray that whatever the outcome, it leads to healing and a better future for all of us. Update after 2 years. Am I in some kind of recovery phase, or is there no more hope for us? My wife physically and emotionally cheated 13 years ago with a coworker when we were still live-in partners with our firstborn. D-Day was almost 2 years ago. We've been together for 20 years, married for 10. The affair happened after we'd been together for 8 years. I was lied to for 10 years before she finally confessed. By the way, the AP has been deceased for 10 years now due to a motorcycle accident. Maybe that's one of the reasons I was able to deal with the situation, knowing that the guy is no longer here. I set myself a time limit for reconciliation. Our kids, now 3, are the biggest reason I chose to stay with a pass. But I didn't really use that pass. At first I thought of giving it 3, 5 years to see if reconciliation is successful. My wife showed remorse and was very cooperative in reconciliation efforts. Almost 2 years since D-Day, and it's still up and down for me. Now, I'm thinking of waiting for my kids to mature and leave home before I leave her. There are days I am okay, but there are also days I hate my situation a lot. For now, I no longer see myself growing old with her. No trust at all, but we still do normal husband and wife stuff. I make sure we look okay to our kids. We are intimate, but for me, it's just satisfying a normal need for intimacy. The emotional aspect is what I'm not sure about. I am thinking of using my past to get back at her, but I haven't acted on it yet. This is probably just to vent. I am not sure what to think. I still care for her, but I think my love for her has gradually diminished over time. I no longer find her attractive in any aspect. I easily get attracted to other women now, but I haven't acted on it. Any thoughts on my situation will be appreciated. Am I just running into a phase or something?